You're very welcome back. Now our next guest is a veteran of the Irish music industry, even though she's still in her 30s.
She signed her very first record deal at the age of 12 after performing on the Late Late Toy Show. She's gone on to win loads of awards and she has just released her fourth album, Luan Parle. It's great to have you back on the show again.
Thrilled to have you back with us, Luan. It's been a while.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, it's been a while now.
If we go all the way back to the beginning, you started off very early.
I did. I was 12 when I released my first album, so 12 when I signed my first record contract. So I suppose I was introduced to the industry at a very young age, but you know, fabulous experience. So and I take it all with me. You know, I've taken it all with me now through to this album. So.
So you say you were 12. So we actually found footage of you on the Late Late Toy Show. I think you were about 11. Let's take a look.
Yes, yeah. Oh God.
Next we have I Look Up to the Sky, a sort of a Christmassy little ballad for you from Wicklow Town. She's 11 years of age. Let's have a welcome, please, for Luan Parle. Luan Parle.
Let us join the choirs of angels. Let us open up our hearts. Let us think of all the children who are starving round the world.
The guitarist bigger than yourself.
Yeah, and I was on the high stool, and I remember throughout the whole performance, I just kept thinking, don't fall down, don't fall down. Yeah. Trying to balance the guitar as well.
But what a very strong voice, though.
Oh,
even,
yeah.
even at that age.
Oh, amazing.
It's very, very rare to get somebody that young to be able to sing as strong as you did.
Oh, well, thank you very much. I was just a kid who loved to sing, and I think I knew from a young age that, you know, as my dad would say, I was singing before I could talk, you know. It was just a passion from the time I was really young. So.
And was your voice trained at that stage?
Well, my dad was my vocal trainer and
because he was
my
a musician
musical mentor.
too.
Yeah, he was. And we would play together as well. Yeah. So yeah, it was my dad really that trained. Now he didn't have any professional training or anything. He was just a great singer and a great songwriter. So.
But isn't it amazing that, like, say, your dad had just that raw talent, not trained or anything, and to be able to tap into that at a very young age was huge.
Yeah, and. We would both play together, so you know we had two guitars, and from the time I was very young, I wanted to learn to play the guitar because I wanted to accompany myself. So it was just a very natural thing in our house that you know there was music and there was guitars playing and there was singing, and so it was a natural thing, really. You know,
you grew up with it. Looking through your first album, of course, at 12, which is amazing. You were signed to Sony at one stage.
I signed to Sony, so after I had my Leaving Cert, I signed with Sony, and then Sony kind of changed, they merged with BMG, so I re-signed with BMG, went off to the States then and recorded an album with Grammy winner Bill Bottrell and signed to Elton John's management label. So there was kind of a lot that happened in those years.
And what does that mean exactly then? Say you're tied to a big label, you have the producers who they all want to work with, they're working with you. What does that mean then?
Well, I suppose from I suppose my side of it, it's great experience and it's great to work with people like that. What does it mean? I mean, I don't know, because the album that I recorded with Bill Bottrell never got released, so it got caught up in a load of red tape and politics and all that kind of thing. So
after all that, though, when you think about it, going to the States, you know, being successful at such a young age, and then it can kind of knock you back.
Oh, completely. And it did, I have to say, because I had gone out to the press, you know, talking about this album that I had made with Bill Bottrell. So I'd been over there for a year. I had spent a long time making this album. I was talking about it. It was called Free, and then nothing. Then the phone stops ringing, and I'm just sitting at home kind of thinking, I don't know what the story is. What's happening?
What's happening here?
So it's, you know, it's horrific.
Because that has nothing to do with your talents. It has nothing to do with you being a talented singer or a songwriter. All of a sudden, this red tape is getting in the way of your next step. It must be so frustrating.
It's very, you know, it is, and it you know, it does affect the confidence a little bit as well. So then what happened was I went back to London and I actually made a whole new album and wrote another song called Free, because that was the title track of the Bottrell album. So, but you know what, I met a lot of amazing people, and working on the new album, one of those people was Hal Linz of Dire Straits.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it was great to be able to kind of pick up the phone and say, look, I'm making this album, it's an independent release.
That's right, you're producing this yourself now. So you've learned a lot, as you said. You've been with the big boys, you started very young, and now this is your way.
I think that's it. You do learn a lot, and I produced this with Clive Barnes, who played all over it, and he played guitar and bass. But it's great. I recorded this over like a 2-year period, so I didn't put pressure on myself. I recorded it in Kilkenny here in Ireland, and like the songs with Hal, there's 10 original tracks, 2 co-writes with Hal. So they were sent over to the States, and then they would come back. But I didn't put pressure on myself. And I made the album that I wanted to make, And I mean, I say I had control over it kind of loosely because I don't want it to, It was the album that I wanted to make. It was songs that I grew up listening to, like Emmylou Harris and Stevie Nicks would be another kind of favourite of mine. And I wanted to bring it back to songs that I grew up listening to.
Kind of folk songs, country
kind of
songs.
Folk songs, yeah, rooted in kind of...
Real songs.
Yeah, tell the story.
What about writing then? Do you always get together with somebody else, or do you write alone?
Well, I took myself off to Inishbofin when I started to write this album, because it was actually 4 months after my dad passed away.
Of course, that was was it 3 years ago now?
3 years ago now, yeah. So maybe not the best time to start writing an album, but I wanted just to kind of step off the world. That's kind of how I describe it. So that's where I started to write it. I wanted some, I suppose, peace, lovely scenery, and yeah, that was kind of the start of it then. And the songs, there were all original, and then, as I said, there's 2 then co-writes.
It must be a good feeling, Luan, but say, for example, you go through what you did in America, you come home, you meet the right person in Clive, and all of a sudden you start backing yourself again, right?
That's it.
You're back in the game because you put yourself back in the game again.
That's it. And I mean, as you said, like, you could very easily just, go.
But also, Luan, when you start so young, I wonder sometimes, can you actually peak too soon as an artist and as a musician?
Yeah, I know what you mean. I suppose, there's the 2 sides of it, isn't there?
It's hard to know, I suppose. This is the way it's gone for you.
But I suppose it's like the tide. The tide will come in twice a day, come and go twice a day, and just you have to ride that tide, that wave when it comes back into shore again.
That's it. And there is nothing else, back to that child with just a passion for singing, for playing, for music, and there's nothing else I could do, so I don't know what else I would do. I sort of have to. I don't have a choice.
You're going to sing a song for us later.
Yes.
What's it about?
So this was a song the first song that I wrote in Inishbofin, and it was a conversation I overheard, and I was looking for inspiration for the album. I heard this conversation, and I got my pen and paper, so I shouldn't give too much away, but...
Don't,
no names.
come looking.
I know, yeah, exactly.
They're looking for royalties.
Yeah,
exactly. But the album will be out on the 7th of February. And
we have the album here. It's beautiful cover and everything.
Thank
Great,
you.
and fantastic songs in there as well.
Yeah.
Lovely stuff.
So,
and you're on tour, aren't you, as well?
On tour as well. So, as I said, the album's out on the 7th, so the 8th then Wexford Arts Centre, and then there's a load of dates then after
around
that.
The country.
All around the country. They're all on my website, which is luanparle.com, and all the tickets are available there too. So.
Lovely. You're such a beautiful singer. Well, we're looking forward to hearing, and of course the album is dedicated to your dad, isn't that right?
Yes.
Which is fabulous.
A gas man. We had a great night. We had a great night years ago together, the 3 of us. Yeah.
Drinking tea.
Drinking tea. That's exactly what we were doing. Drinking tea. Well, if you head off and get ready for the song,
absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Look forward to hearing it.
Now, coming up tomorrow, we have our book club.